All right, welcome everyone to the eighth episode of the Heart to Heart podcast. This one is going to be a monologue. And today I want to talk about the idea of giving up and why we shouldn't be doing it, why it's not a good idea to give up.
Hey yo, you ready?
Please don't make this complicated. What about the time we wasted on our love? I can't keep the things we traded.
All right, so to put it into simple terms, giving up is the idea of not believing you're capable of doing something, and as a result of that, to not proceed to do what you wanted to do. So there could be a bunch of different ways, or a bunch of different reasons as to why someone might give up, right? It could be the environment around them. Everyone there is pushing them against achieving what they want to achieve. It could be the idea of they themselves don't believe in their ability. It could also be a previous experience where that experience before hasn't really allowed them to be there, hasn't really allowed them to shine per se. There are a whole bunch of reasons as to why someone might not give up, but I guess the point I'm trying to get at here today is why it's extremely important that you do not give up. So one very common reason that people give up is when they come into an activity or a task or a project or something along the lines of that. They'll attempt something once, right? And then if it's not successful or if they don't see success visibly, they give up. They give up right there. That is absolutely atrocious. All right. We know for a fact it takes many iterations for one person to be successful. And you might bring up a point of someone who, for instance, um, like let's say on TikTok, right? You post a video, you get a couple million views. Over the span of a couple weeks, you gather, let's say a million followers or something along the lines of that. That does happen, but that is such an outlier to the point. If we see that as a norm, we are deluded because that is not a norm. That is not common. That is not something that we should expect with anything in life. What we should be expecting is hard work, continuous hard work. When and I've fallen into this quite a bit where I would, when there's a page or a channel or something that I want to grow, right? I'd post like a video. Let's say TikTok, for example, right? I'd post a video and it would get something along the lines of like 70 views or something like that. And I look at, like, I'm scrolling through my For You page and people are getting hundreds of thousands of views and you constantly see it. And sometimes they create content that's similar to what I'm trying to create or I'm trying to push out and whatnot. And it sucks. It really does suck there. But that's when you got to realize, you got to be like, yo, they've done the exact same thing you have. They've been in your shoes before. They've had videos that barely had any views, and there's so many other people in the same boat as you. The difference between you and them is they've been doing it for a lot longer, or they have certain things that you don't have in terms of either video production, in terms of accessories, something along the lines of that. But they have something that you don't quite have, and it's never ever an apples to apples comparison ever, because there's always something different that they're doing, that you're doing. Although there are scenarios where it's close enough to the point the difference is negligible, but I don't like going with that approach at all. Like at all, I don't like going with that approach. It I actually forgot who I heard this from. I think it was Timothy. My boy Timothy Spokes. I think he's the one who told me this, where he said it takes 5 years um to 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 build. So I kind of forgot the quote. I want to search this up. Hold on. Yes. Okay. So the quote says, okay. So the quote says it takes 5 years to succeed overnight. Because overnight success is, while it's not something that never ever happens, if you put your money on that happening to you, or if you put all your eggs in one basket and base your success off of whether overnight success has occurred or not, chances are you're not gonna last long. It's just not gonna, like, you might get immediate attention, etc., etc. Otherwise, because and there's another thing about getting overnight success, right? Like genuine overnight success, as in like overnight success. So why am I trying to explain that? It's something about getting overnight success where now you feel obligated to reach that level again, and it's generally not attainable. Like that you're gonna be stressed, you're gonna be worried, you're gonna be um you know very stressed with regards to making sure that you do attain that level, and that level isn't necessarily attainable, or at least not in the long run. And as things tail off, you're gonna start feeling bad, you're gonna start questioning yourself. There's a lot of things that come with that just isn't ever really talked about, because people are gonna be like, "Yo, you're ungrateful for what what you've achieved and whatnot," and that's how things are. So yeah, overnight success is not something that should be in our books, in our dictionary at all. Yeah, so that quote was pretty epic and definitely eye opening. Another thing that I want to talk about is success, right? So we've established that it does take time to achieve success and to be successful and whatnot. So the next point that I wanna point at here is the fact that success means a lot more to us when we've achieved it, right? So like while we don't have it, and when we're in a situation where we're looking at when we're looking at all the possibilities, all the different obstacles that we have to go through in order to achieve success, and we start questioning ourselves, and we're like, is this even worth it? Is it worth the hassle? Is it something that should be is it something worth being sought after, right? We'll ask ourselves these questions quite a bit, actually, and I don't think we'll really understand the true value of it until we achieve it. Right? It's once we achieve that success where we're like, huh, yeah, that was well worth it. It's definitely something that if I had the opportunity to, I would do it again. Right? This is something that's I think it's not spoken about enough, right? So when it comes to, let's say, a project, a long-term project or a significant project that we're enrolling ourselves in or participating in or creating and whatnot, I think it's extremely important that we keep success. I think it's extremely important that we define what success is to us, and then we keep that in mind all along, right? Because that's another thing, is at times you're gonna feel like your destiny or your goal is a long way away, right? You're gonna feel like it's way too far to reach. You're gonna feel like it's not something that you're able to um see. Like some usually a lot of people will get demotivated when they can't see the finish line, right? Not knowing that at the end of the day, that dark path that you're going through is going to lead you to your finish line. Like it's going to lead you there as long as you know you're actually moving. And that's what's important, that knowing that you're moving. This is very prevalent in the fitness industry, or people who are interested in fitness, where you want to see immediate results. And if for anyone who doesn't know about how it works, when you start working out, initially you're going to see significant progress, and then as you get deeper into it, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to see progress. So once you're at the stage where it's harder to see progress, you're going to feel like you're stalling. Now, this is where it's extremely critical to have the right mindset. Because if you have the right mindset, you're going to keep going, and you're going to be understanding that change is happening just little by little, but change is happening, and you're heading towards achieving your goal. Versus if you have the mindset of, oh, I need to see the light at the end of the tunnel, then that's only gonna stop you from working, and you're gonna end up in a cycle of, let me put up muscle, or let me lose fat, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Let me back off of that. Basically, if we're talking putting fat, if we're talking losing fat, let me back off, eat a little bit, gain some fat again, and then lose it again, right? And then you get that feeling again, right? The feeling of losing weight, which is going to be easier. It's easier because that's just how things are. It's easier initially, and then it gets harder as it goes on. That's how life is. Like, have you noticed that's how life is? Like, as a child, actually, I won't be honest. I don't remember anything about like when I was 1 or 2 years old, like as an early child. I don't know what pain or I don't know. I'd like to think though, as a child, I had a lot less to worry about growing up, and I'm fully aware that as I grow older, I'm only gonna have more things to worry about. But yeah, I feel like that's just a like I feel like that's just like a typical thing in life that we're going to experience. Also, another point I want to bring up is the idea that anything that's worthwhile doing is not gonna be easy. Like, if something is easy, it might be worthwhile temporarily. Like, it might be worthwhile initially as you're doing it. But one thing you'll realize is that anything that takes a short amount of time to accomplish, you're gonna enjoy it for a short amount of time. Like that's just how things work, right? And things that do take a bit longer, right? A long-term project, something that's much more significant, is something that you're going to enjoy over the long run. Those are the things where, down the line you're going to be like, yo, I remember back then when I did such and such and such. That's what stands out. It's those significant projects, those significant people as well. This could be applied to almost anything in life, where if you've done anything that took a while, right? It's something that took a long time and something that you need to build upon something in order to achieve, it's something you're gonna succeed. It's something you're gonna celebrate. It's something you're gonna celebrate all along, like later down the line for a much longer period of time. And it's gonna be a part of your identity as well. It's gonna be something that people are gonna remember you for. Because not everyone does that, right? And even if you do that, not everyone does what you're specifically doing, especially those around you and whatnot. And there's also this idea that some people, if they try one thing and it doesn't work, they have this idea, and I've been guilty of this too. This idea that this basically the whole concept doesn't work, right? You try one thing, maybe you tried a couple times, doesn't work. You get this idea that the whole concept doesn't work, and you give up right away. That's terrible. That's absolutely atrocious. It's not something that that's not a mindset anyone should have ever. Straight up, it's just not a mindset that anyone should have. The mindset that we should have is maybe there's another way of achieving this. Maybe there's another way that could get me to the same end goal. And that's I'm gonna relate this back to fitness because it's the first thing that comes to mind, right? For anyone who works out, you could relate to this, right? If there's a muscle group that you're working and you don't really feel the pump, what you would do, you could do one or two things. You could either be like, never mind, I don't want to like this. It's just not working and give up, or you could try a different workout and tackle like a different aspect of that muscle group. So like each muscle group could be each big muscle group could be divided into different smaller muscle groups. So, um, yeah, you could take the choice that you make, the different mindsets that you have there is extremely important, and I feel like it's something that's extremely important in our lives. It's very 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 important. And another thing, one very very huge thing that we often unfortunately let get in the way of us is our past, right? So all of us have had, past experiences that have been negative that we look back on and we just associate negative things with it. And there's nothing, it's not, we're not at fault for it. I'm under the assumption that it's something that we didn't know back then that wasn't a good idea, or something, or it was like a learning curve or something along the lines of that. We're not like we shouldn't be putting ourselves at fault for that. I believe it's something that we should just see it as a life lesson. Make sure we don't make the mistake again in the near future. But basically, a previous experience that ended negatively is going to turn into a fear for you. It's going to be a fear, and fear, the single most detrimental thing to success is fear. It's the one thing that will hold you back in every way possible. And that's why it's extremely important to have the mindset of let me conquer my fear. That just let me conquer my fear. I don't want to fear anything anymore, right? That mindset's extremely, extremely important. And um, I feel like our previous experiences really play a huge role into what we do right now, how we do it, why we don't do things, how we don't do things, and so on and so forth. And we let that get in the way of us a little bit too much, just a little bit too much. I think it's extremely important that um we do not let, I think it's extremely important that we do not let our fears get in the way of us achieving success, especially if it's like a huge project, like a life-changing project that we want to work on, something that could potentially, forever change our life. It's extremely important that we do not let that get in the way of us. It's extremely important that we um look at things and be like, okay, now I want to work on that. Look at a hurdle and be like, is that a hurdle? Okay, I'm gonna get over that now. That's not a problem. Have I had a previous experience before that wasn't the best? Yes. Is that gonna dictate what I do in the future? No, because you can't change your past, right? If you take any other approach to this, you're gonna be holding yourself back because you cannot change your past. What you could do is change the future, and how you change the future is by not letting past experiences stop you from growing. If you've had a negative experience in the past and that has helped you, and if that negative experience did help you not do something not ideal in the future, I don't know why the right word didn't come to mind. Um, but yeah, if the experience in the past didn't let you not do, let me say that one more time. Hold on. If your experience in the past, a negative experience in the past, stopped you from doing something that was really bad for your life, let's say, then keep that negative experience, and don't do what was that bad thing that was about to happen in your life. Just don't do it. In the future, though, it's extremely important that something that isn't bad, that you don't let that get in the way of you trying out, you doing new things, you um, pushing for whatever it is that you do want to do. So, to quickly summarize, um, giving up is terrible. Although, hot take, I think giving up is needed in certain scenarios, especially as you grow older and as you get busier. When I say giving up, I mean giving up on important things in your life. We can't do everything, unfortunately. And so there are certain things that we do need to give up on, especially if it's halting the more important things in life. But when I, like, the focus of this was on people, or sorry, was on scenarios and situations that are extremely important in life. And giving up on those is terrible, and it's not something that should be done. If you need to find an alternative route to achieving it, that's great. um do what you need to do to achieve that goal. Giving up is not an option. It should not even be on the list. Got to keep pushing yourself. You got to keep working on yourself. Got to keep improving yourself. These are all extremely, extremely important. And yeah, let me know if there's any questions, any comments, anything along the lines of that. I'd love to have a discussion with you at any time if you do want it. And yeah, I'm gonna see y'all on the next one. Peace.